They said no one could survive the winter of 1777 in the desolate fields outside Philadelphia. But one man did, alone, hungry, and hunted. What he discovered in those frozen woods would rewrite everything the world thought it knew about courage, betrayal, and the fragile line between myth and reality. The mist of the ridge hung like a ghostly veil as Jonathan and Whitmore pressed deeper into the valley. The air was unnaturally still, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Snow crunched beneath their boots, but other sounds, footsteps, whispers, the faint drip of water, seemed to belong to no one. Jonathan could feel his pulse quicken. The ridge had a rhythm, a heartbeat that resonated through the frozen earth. Whitmore paused suddenly at the base of a jagged rock formation. "This is it," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The caves. We enter carefully. Few have stepped inside, and fewer have returned unchanged." Jonathan squinted into the dark openings. The caves yawned like the mouths of ancient beasts, their interiors swallowed by shadows so deep it was impossible to see the end. Cracks in the rock revealed faint traces of light, flickering reflections of snow outside, but beyond that, there was only darkness. He adjusted the small lantern he carried. Its weak glow revealed carvings on the rock walls, spirals, crosses, crescent moons intertwined with stars, and strange glyphs that seemed almost to move when viewed from the corner of the eye. Jonathan traced one symbol with his gloved finger. "These aren't natural," he murmured. "Someone, or something, created these deliberately." Whitmore nodded. "Exactly. Some call them markings of an old secret society, others believe they are the language of the first settlers, native, European, or perhaps something older. Whatever they are, they tell a story. A warning." The cave floor was uneven, littered with debris, animal bones, and broken tools that looked centuries old. Jonathan crouched to examine a rusted dagger embedded in a rock. Its handle was carved with the same symbols he had seen outside. "These artifacts, they predate the revolution," he said. "Some of this could be hundreds of years old." They ventured deeper. The air grew colder, heavier, as though each step drew them further into the re. The forest seemed alive as Jonathan Mercer stepped cautiously into the ridge. The wind whispered through the skeletal pines, carrying with it a scent of damp earth and something older, something almost metallic, like the trace of iron and blood. Every step he took crunched against the frost-hardened snow, each echo swallowed quickly by the dense trees surrounding him. Whitmore, the man who had vanished months ago, led him silently through the twisted underbrush. His eyes darted constantly, as if expecting an ambush from the shadows themselves. Jonathan studied him carefully. Whitmore's uniform was tattered beyond recognition, yet there was a certain authority in his bearing, a command that even months of isolation had not erased. "You need to understand," Whitmore said finally, breaking the tense silence, "what happened here, it wasn't just the winter. It wasn't just hunger. Something else took hold of this land." Jonathan frowned. "Something else? Are you speaking of the British? Or?" Whitmore shook his head, eyes narrowing. "No army, no man, no natural force could do what this place did. I've seen things out here, things that defy reason. People vanish without a trace. And those who remain, they change. They aren't the same." Jonathan's curiosity surged. He had been a man of maps and logic, of terrain and coordinates, and yet here, the land itself seemed to rewrite the rules he had believed in. He felt a chill run down his spine, a premonition that the ridge held secrets far beyond the Revolutionary War. As they walked, Whitmore explained. Months ago, he had been dispatched to chart a path through these forests for supply lines critical to the Continental Army. But what he found was not merely rugged terrain, it was a labyrinth of caves, hidden valleys, and strange markings etched into stone, symbols that resembled maps, but ones that seemed to shift, almost alive, when he looked away. "It wasn't just about supplies anymore," Whitmore whispered. "There are F." The year was 1777, and the American Revolution had already dragged on for 2 long years. Soldiers shuffled through the snow-laden fields, their muskets heavy with frost, their feet numb with cold, their hearts heavy with despair. In the shadows of Valley Forge, the ragged Continental Army tried to hold the line against the seemingly unstoppable British forces. Yet amidst the widespread suffering, rumors circulated, stories whispered around makeshift fires about a man who had disappeared into the wilderness months ago, a man who might hold the key to secrets neither army could comprehend. Jonathan Mercer, a young cartographer and reluctant soldier from Massachusetts, had been drafted into the Continental Army just months earlier. Unlike many, he had not joined for glory, nor for ideology, he joined for survival, for the hope that he might protect his family from the chaos engulfing the colonies. Jonathan carried not just maps and compasses, but an insatiable curiosity about the land he had only begun to explore. He believed the wilderness held answers, ancient truths hidden beneath the snow, waiting for someone daring enough to discover them. The frost had bitten through his clothes during his first week in the encampment. The cold seeped into his bones, a constant reminder that survival here required more than courage, it required cunning, knowledge, and, above all, resilience. Yet Jonathan was undeterred. He saw patterns in the frozen rivers, signs in the skeletal trees, and strange symbols scratched into the bark, traces of lives long past, or perhaps, as some whispered, evidence of something supernatural. One evening, as the wind howled like a chorus of ghosts through the skeletal trees, Jonathan overheard a conversation that would change everything. Two officers spoke in hushed tones near a dying fire. "The last expedition vanished," one whispered. "No one's seen Captain Whitmore since he left for the ridge." "Vanished? Or something else?" the other replied. The faint glow ahead of Jonathan and Whitmore led them into a circular chamber, larger than anything Jonathan had imagined. The walls were lined with shelves carved directly into the stone, holding scrolls, ledgers, and bundles of parchment, some yellowed with age, others surprisingly well preserved. Candles long extinguished had left behind stalagmite-like wax formations, giving the room an eerie, almost sacred feel. Whitmore approached one of the ledgers and carefully opened it. "These are records from merchants, spies, and soldiers, some English, some French, some unknown. They document shipments, alliances, even covert negotiations meant to sway the colonies. This could change everything we know about who really influenced the revolution." Jonathan's eyes roamed over a table where several objects lay, a compass with an intricate mechanism unlike any he had seen, a dagger encrusted with gems, and a folded map covered with symbols similar to those etched into the cave walls. His fingers trembled as he unfolded it. The map depicted not only the American colonies but also secret paths, hidden forts, and meeting points that were never recorded in official documents. "These aren't just maps," Jonathan whispered. "These are blueprints of a hidden network. Someone has been operating in the shadows for decades, maybe centuries." Whitmore nodded gravely. "That's why the British never fully crushed certain revolutionary cells. And why some patriots succeeded against overwhelming odds. This chamber, whoever built it, had eyes and ears everywhere. Their influence shaped battles, supply routes, even political decisions." A sudden sound, a scraping, almost like claws on stone, made both men freeze. Shadows seemed to stretch and flicker across the walls. Jonathan's lantern, which he had relit, cast long, dancing shapes. "We're not alone," he murmured. From the corner of the chamber, a figure emerged. At first, it seemed human, but as it stepped closer, Jonathan